And we are back for the first time in what feels like quite a while. It's another episode of Mets Prospective on SNY. He's Joe DeMayo. I'm Jacob Resnick. And Joe, quite a bit has happened since we last spoke. Prospects coming into the organization through the draft, others leaving at the trade deadline. But all of that is in the rearview mirror as the focus for the Mets is squarely on the stretch run. And they're going to have a new face on the roster, one that we're pretty familiar with, and anyone who's watched the show since the beginning should be as well. Brett Baty is officially a major leaguer. Joe, I don't think we expected this coming into this season, maybe not even as of 2 months ago, but this is the start of what could be a very long career in Flushing for Brett Baty.
It's a very exciting time for the Mets and for the Mets fans. Because, I mean, you're looking at the Atlanta Braves team that the Mets are competing with, and they've called up Michael Harris. They've called up Vaughn Grissom. And I've seen plenty of Mets fans hit me on Twitter. Why aren't the Mets calling up Alvarez? And, you know, we've talked about that ad nauseum over the last couple months. Why aren't they calling up Baty with the hot stretch that he has had over the last couple months? And he's here. And, you know, it may have taken an injury or two to get there, but the reality is I think Brett Baty has earned this call up, and it's just a really exciting time. He's going to add some juice to this lineup that's already producing at a really high level.
And Joe, kind of when you look at what Brett Baty's role could be on this team, obviously the team has been succeeding without him, not really being looked at as a savior, but a really good opportunity for him to come up stress-free and kind of play his game. What do you see his role as going forward?
I think he fits in great with this team. He has the pitch recognition skills that I mentioned before, and that's kind of what this team is about. They see pitches, they work at bats. That's what Brett Baty does. And then he also adds some power to the fold, which we know the Mets pursued that at the deadline with Daniel Vogelback and with Darren Ruff. I think Baty adds that power element that I think they were hoping to get from Eduardo Escobar. It just hasn't really been what they expected, at least, you know, as of now. And with the way this team is performing, he could come in and bat 7th, 8th, towards the bottom of the order, where the pressure is not going to be on him like it would be for some prospects that when they're called up, they get thrust into the middle of lineups. So he's coming into a really good team in the midst of a pennant race, and he can bat low in the order. And, you know, I think that's just going to help his transition. A little less pressure. Obviously, there's pressure with the pennant race, but within the confines of the lineup, I think being able to bat him lower will take a little bit off his shoulders as he adjusts to the major leagues.
And anyone you talk to will tell you how hard Brett works on and off the field. Kind of had a pretty mediocre end to his 2021 season when he went up to Binghamton after having been in Brooklyn, but he finished really strong going to the Arizona Fall League, was one of the standouts there. And then he put in the work over the offseason, knew he had to, you know, lower his ground ball rate. It was one of the highest, if not the highest in the organization. Really worked on that, and like you said, was able to get that going once he got into this season, and has really kind of taken to some of the major leaguers in the organization. He's spoken about James McCann when he was on rehab assignment at Binghamton, talking to him about what it's like to be a major leaguer, what he needs to do. It's just the beginning, maybe a little sooner than we thought, but there's a really good opportunity for him here, and I'm looking forward to watching him run with it. And recently, we got a chance to sit down with Brett Baty a few days after he was promoted to AAA Syracuse and a few days before he was promoted to the major leagues to talk about his season to this point. Let's talk a little bit about your season in Binghamton to start the year. April was good. May, maybe not exactly what your standards are used to. And then it seemed like you entered June and something clicked. What was that thing that clicked for you, if anything?
Last year, I got kind of my first taste of playing in the cold weather to start the year. Just getting up into Binghamton when it was 30, 40 degrees was definitely a big time difference for sure. But then right when the summer months hit, right after I came off that short little IL stint, I felt good with everything. We got a hitting coordinator up in Binghamton, and he was there permanently. So we really just started diving deep on like mixed BP and stuff like that. And he kept pounding me in, trying to clean up some holes that the pitchers were kind of exposing me in. And once I cleaned those up, I was feeling really confident. And that's when I started to get hot right there in June. It feels good right now. It feels like I'm just trying to be the best baseball player I can be and fill those holes.
Do you have any extra motivation to make the majors this year, considering they're one of the best teams in baseball and being able to get into that environment?
I mean, yeah, you always want to, like, everybody's dream is always to get to the major leagues. So I really want to get to the major leagues, but at the end of the day, that's not my decision. And they have a great ball club up there. They got a really veteran ball club, and they're looking to win a pennant and make a push for the World Series and stuff like that. So whenever it's my time, it's going to be my time, and I'm going to be ready for it.
Let's go back a couple years to when the Mets took Brett Baty out of high school in Texas in the first round in 2019. Kind of got through the system pretty quickly, got up to Brooklyn in his first year. Obviously, the COVID season in 2020 was at the alternate site. And since then, it's all been really fast-paced for him getting to this point where he could come up after just a week in AAA.
Yeah, going back to when he was in high school, his value got dinged a bit by being a 19-year-old high school kid. And you know, that's one of those things that all it really does is it puts more pressure on a player to perform essentially immediately in the minor leagues. And Baty did that. He's had his bumps in the roads, of course. And this year in May, he struggled a bit in AA, but since then he's been on fire. But when you think about him as a draft prospect, it was a guy that he's kind of the same guy in a sense. Where the on-base skills were some of the best in that entire draft class. The hit tool was there, the power was there, though largely to center field, left center, left field. And where he made the biggest jump here in 2022 is being able to pull the ball with authority, to pull the ball with power. He's made some strides there, and I think that's only aiding his big league readiness.
Joe, obviously he's coming up to play third base in the major leagues. He's played a little bit of left field in the minors, most likely going to be a third baseman at the major league level. How ready do you think he is to play that position at a major league level?
I think he definitely still does need some work defensively at third base, but I don't think it's this huge impediment that maybe it has been made out to be in the public over the last few days. I think he's going to be serviceable at the position, which I think is what you're looking for with his offensive output. He needs some work certainly coming in on balls, but he has plenty of arm strength. Overall, I think he's going to be fine there. And, you know, it's not something that I'm crazy worried about.
I think the exciting thing when you look at him playing third base, that could be a spot for him, not just for the rest of this year or early next year, potentially for the long haul. Obviously, the Mets have been looking for a long-term solution at the third base position ever since David Wright's career came to its conclusion, and Baty being the first high school third baseman the Mets drafted in the first round since David Wright could potentially be the next long-term solution there at third base. I think we've talked a lot about what Baty's career and his peak could look like, and we've thrown around names like Kyle Seager, even Eric Chavez, who's the Mets hitting coach. Maybe not Gold Glove caliber defense, but just a real solid left-handed bat that's gonna hit for a solid average, get on base well because he's gonna draw his walks, and you hope could get up to 20, maybe even 25 home runs in a peak season. It's exciting to look at this now as potentially the beginning of a long-term career in New York with Brett Baty and the Mets, and they've had obviously success with guys like Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, these homegrown guys over the last couple years. Potentially Brett Baty is the next of the crop. And that's going to do it for us this week. He's Joe DeMayo. I'm Jacob Resnick. We'll see you next time on Mets Prospective.
See the Mets of tomorrow play today. The Brooklyn Cyclones play baseball on the beach all summer long. Visit brooklyncyclones.com/tickets.